everyone, and welcome to the Key to Housing Counselors. Today we will be discussing obviously the roles of the housing counselor. We have some amazing panelists today. We have Henry Wade from Chicanos por la Causa, Sherri Tate with Western Arizona Council of Governments, and also Devonna McLaughlin with Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. My name is Brenda Lopez, and I am a housing director here at Trellis, another nonprofit organization doing the similar work as all of our panelists. So I'm so excited to hear from everyone today, and also looking forward to interacting and getting some questions from the audience as well. So let's go ahead and start with some introductions. Henry, you want to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, Brenda. And
you can just tell us a little bit about your organization, the services you offer, and the geographical region that you cover. Yes, sorry.
Well, thank you. Again, I'm Henry Wade, the housing director for Chicanos por la Causa. Chicanos por la Causa, of course, is a nonprofit organization. We've been in existence for 50 years. Started out as a result of a group of students at Phoenix Union High School who felt like they weren't getting the benefit of a good education there at Phoenix because they were kind of ignored and cast aside. So they did something about it. They protested, they stood in line, they made themselves known, they made their argument well known, and they aligned with Cesar Chavez during his fast that he had here in the city of Phoenix. And in fact, that building where he held his fast was used as a clubhouse for the students. So Chicanos por la Causa, of course, started off for the idea initially was good housing, good education, and opportunities, and it turned into what it is today, which is a multi-state, multi-program organization that serves the community and would make sure that all folks understand that those who may not know a lot about Chicanos por la Causa, it serves the entire community. It is not based just for the Chicano community. It serves anyone who has a need will find service in Chicanos por la Causa. It's a great organization. I love working for it. I personally, our offices, housing counseling services, we have an office in Phoenix, one in Tucson, and one in Nevada, and are working diligently to open an office in Texas, in Houston, Texas. So we have a long outreach in the communities that we serve and continue to try to be of value to those that have a need for our services, whether it be housing counseling, mental health issues, or early childhood development, whatever it might be that we do, we certainly serve that community. And I'm really happy and pleased and honored to be able to be here this afternoon to have this conversation with some wonderful panelists as well. And again, thank you, Brenda, very much for your oversight of our activities today.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for that amazing introduction. CPLC goes way back. So, Sherri, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Sherri Tate, and I am a housing counselor with Western Arizona Council of Governments. We service Lopez, Mojave, and Yuma counties predominantly, and we have multitudes of services as we are an action agency. We're also a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. We do weatherization, area agency on aging, Head Start, electrical assistance, rental assistance. So we kind of cover a lot of areas. My expertise, of course, is in housing counseling. And I provide both the housing counseling as far as first-time buyers and foreclosure mitigation and rental assistance. And I'm also a certified HECM counselor. And WACOG has been around just under 50 years, so not quite as long as Chicanos por la Causa, but they are an agency that gets pass-through funds for CSBG. And so we work off the service block grant and help support our communities in the areas that they need. So thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Sherri. Devonna?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Devonna McLaughlin, and I serve as CEO of Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. And we are the new kids on the block. We've only been around for 31 years. So we are in good company with y'all. And we are based in Flagstaff, and we serve the 3 Northern Arizona counties, Mojave County, Yavapai, and Coconino counties. We are also a HUD-approved housing counseling agency providing pre-purchase housing counseling, foreclosure mitigation counseling, rental counseling, and financial literacy counseling. And we administer down payment assistance programs. We have scattered site affordable rental properties that we own and manage. And we are, as of tomorrow, expanding our Share and Manor transitional housing program, which serves homeless survivors of domestic violence. So we should get our certificate of occupancy for 13 additional units tomorrow. So fingers crossed, but we are pretty comprehensive, serving folks experiencing homelessness all the way to folks trying to preserve their homes and save them from foreclosure. So all through that housing continuum, we're involved. So it's a pleasure to be with you guys today, and we look forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Devonna. And as you will learn through today's discussion, housing counselors wear many, many hats. So you'll get to learn about all of the different programs and services that all the housing counselors and agencies provide. So let's go ahead and jump into our questions and talk a little bit more about that. So why should individuals work with a housing counselor? And what advantages does it offer? What benefits does someone have while we're working with a housing counselor in whatever service that is? Devonna, you want to go ahead and just expand on that a little bit?
Sure, I'll start, and I know my colleagues can add to it. You know, buying a house is not something people do every day, and focusing on or trying to save your home from foreclosure isn't something you do every day, and yet we do. And so when you're going to make a really significant financial decision for your family, whether it's buying a home or even going into a rental and trying to figure out what's reasonable and affordable and right, we're here to help with that. And we don't have skin in the game as far as, like, we don't get a commission if you buy a house. We're here and we are funded by HUD and grant funders regardless, so we can give you that impartial third party opinion. We can say, yeah, this is typical, like this is what we're seeing in the industry. I know when we bought our first house as an individual, my husband's like, an appraisal cost what? He was like floored, and I was like, you know, hun, that's actually not too bad. And so it's just not knowing. And you know, when your car's broken, you take it to a mechanic because they know what they're doing. And when people are ready to buy a house or trying to look for home ownership or housing opportunities that are affordable, that's kind of where we come in. And so we can help get you ready for home ownership and overcome the barriers. We can help you try and save your home and negotiate with your loan servicer on a modification. You're like, what the heck are even those terms? And so, you know, we're really here as the experts to try and provide information and guidance so that clients can make educated and informed decisions. And at the end of the day, if a client makes an educated and informed decision that's best for them, we win. So that's kind of what we're here to do, is to answer questions and to be the person that could help be the expert in the room when you don't know what you're doing, because we all have those places where we're not experts. So I'd say that's what we do and what the value is. And I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
I think that you've covered it really well. I'd like to add too that in this time of the pandemic, when we have such an influx of individuals that are right now in forbearance in their mortgages and not sure of what their future is going to be, a housing counselor can help you to navigate. We keep up to date with what's going on in HUD and with servicers, and we're able to be your voice. So even if we aren't the servicer, we can be the in-between person, making sure that the paperwork is there, making sure that the mortgage company is following the rules and helping you through complaints. You know, and that goes all the way down to even a fair housing complaint if necessary. But I think that right now we have a large group of people who are out there with these loan balances that are essentially just growing and unsure of their future. And I think by at least having a bigger team to help them, so you already have the servicer. If you get a counselor, like Devonna says, we have no skin in the game. We're here solely to help you become sustainable in whatever realm whatever form it takes. If it takes on the form of you walking away from the home, if it takes on the form of a modification where you can, you know, modify the terms of the loan, or if it takes on just getting right back on the horse and starting your payment again, we're here to walk you through the terminology. We're here to support you from beginning to end. And then again, we have I'm not fortunately or unfortunately, but we do have people that come back and transition into different homes, or maybe they're going into a reverse mortgage as they age into in place. So I think that we're there all the way through.
Yeah, and I think what we try to do as well is to reveal the man behind the curtain. You know, we lift that veil of confusion and not understanding, because it's something that we do on a regular basis. It's even in the language. And that's is one thing that people learn when they come into the real estate industry, that there's a language that we speak in that industry. And if you don't understand the language, you might as well be speaking Portuguese or Chinese or whatever, because you just don't understand. So we try to lift that veil of the unknown and help people to be able to navigate through that process. You know, and as stated, from purchasing a home to trying to save that home from being taken from you, we try to make sure that we have an understanding of that process and try to make it discernible for the people who come to, the consumers who come to us and need our assistance. We want to make sure that we give them the tools that they need to be able to protect themselves and whenever they're coming in contact with the process. And right now is a prime example of trying to be good stewards and assistants to people who are in need. Because what is a forbearance? What does that mean? You know, what does it mean that the CDC is now arguing with others that they have the right to make a decision about whether or not foreclosures are going to continue on? What is a moratorium? I can't think of the word now, but what is that? What does all that mean? And so when folks come in to sit down and have a conversation with our counselors, and we are HUD approved counselors, our agencies are HUD approved, and our counselors as well are HUD approved. So that means we've gone through an education process, both for the organization and for the people who work within the organization. So that when we speak from a point of understanding as well as a point of authority that was provided to us through our educational processes. So lifting the veil of understanding and giving people an opportunity to be able to question what's taking place and get good answers to that. That's one of the major benefits, I think, of having a counselor. You need somebody there with you to back you up so that you'll make a good decision. And those around you who may try to make it cloudy for you, but we make sure that we remove those clouds for you so that you'll be able to have a good outcome in the long run.
Thank you all so much. You're definitely the best kept secret. I always hear, why didn't I hear about you before? So here we are sharing this information today. Definitely such a positive reason or a benefit, a great benefit to work with a housing counselor. So thank you all for that. And sharing that. So as through this whole pandemic, we all know that our counseling work has changed, right? We have resorted to doing counseling in different ways and different methods. You know, some we've discovered, wow, this is working great, and we may continue to do so. What have you implemented in your organization as far as being able, you know, to change the way you do business on a day-to-day basis that you feel that you will continue to doing post-pandemic? You know, something that's worked well that you've discovered. Sherri, you want to start?
Sure. And unfortunately, WACOG is still limited on even doing face-to-face. So we're still in that very cautious stage. But as an agency, I think what we found is we found another platform to reach out to people, much like what we're doing here today. We provide our 8-hour homebuyer workshops, our financial capabilities. We do coaching. We do our counseling sessions face-to-face. In my opinion, it's face-to-face because it's via Zoom. It still allows us to conduct business, and it also allows us to do it more easily for those that maybe are homebound but are still tech savvy. The unfortunate thing in Southern Arizona is that we have so many individuals that have limited internet access. But what we found is we're more efficient in the way that we get and distribute information. So we have partners where we have our intake applications are in our partners' offices. So if they are seeing people face to face, or if they're going to, say, the library or wherever they may be, we try to reach those organizations and have that partnership. And I don't see that going away. And I don't know that even if we go back face to face, I still think that there's going to be some form of the online services still available in Yuma. And we're finding that it works even with we're an area agency on aging, and we have found, and this has a lot to do with technology reaching different levels. We have these automated animals now that we can give to our elderly citizens that act like cats, they act like dogs, and that helps with comfort for these people. And they're saying that this may have been around for a while, but we would not have looked into it. But what has happened is when we take our case managers out of the house, which is a lot of what homebound people were, that was that interaction, and we give them this it's an animal, but it doesn't have to be cleaned up after. It's all these things. I found it to be something that really kind of speaks to where we're going in the future. And I think that this is all going to be a part of it, at least for our agency.
Absolutely.
I think the same thing. We were making a transition to doing counseling online, doing most of our application process online. We were fillable forms where you could fill out your application and everything online, and then transfer the data over to us. We were in a transition period of doing that when the pandemic hit. So it was fortunate that we had the foresight to think about it even before that happened, so we could continue with our services right away, because of course folks didn't want to be in rooms with large groups of people and masked up and whatever. So Zoom, Teams, webinars, all these things were things that we were transitioning to. So it made it real easy to continue. And as we transition back into what we would call our normal, then I don't see us moving away from that either. I think it will add that again. I think we will have an opportunity to do large groups, as long as they are, we follow the CDC guidelines and we follow the safety guidelines, and the distancing and washing hands and masks and whatever. If that is what's required, we'll do what's required in order to be able to have large groups, because sometimes it works well to have people in the same room with each other, because they're helpful for each other in the learning process. And we are able to disseminate information out to them right then and there. So it's a little helpful, but I don't see us transitioning much from that. The one thing I would say that during the pandemic, the appointment process that we use to bring people into the office and actually sit down and talk with them in the office, I don't see a lot of changes from that, because we did in fact close down the offices for people to come in unless they were on an appointment, and we made sure the facility was ready to take them health-wise, location-wise, or whatever, we're able to take them. So I don't necessarily see us transitioning to that, other than perhaps those people who can work from home, who can communicate with the clients from their home. We essentially set up home offices and all of our counselors, so they all have the computers, they have the scanners, they have printers, they have everything they need in order to function in their jobs. And so maybe now, as we come back into it, there may be a time where people will be 3 days in the office, or maybe 2 days in the office and 3 days at home, or however that goes to work out. But so, we see these transition points or touch points that we will be able to analyze how effective it's making this to the client, and how safe it's making for our client, our counselors and our staff as well, because we certainly don't want to make anybody sick or get anyone sick. I am very proud of the fact, and I'm sure my colleagues in a similar situation, I'm very proud of the fact that we did not lose any counselors or downtime from counselors as a result of the pandemic. We had one counselor that was was on quarantine that did catch COVID-19 out of our staff. And I think that that's not a bad percentage if we just have one that was affected. But we're very happy and very pleased with the fact that we didn't make any of our clients sick, and we didn't make any of our customers sick as well. So we're real proud of that.
Thank you, Henry. Devonna, did you have anything to add? Anything that you've been doing differently that you will continue to do post-pandemic?
Yeah, so I think Sherri can relate to this, is that our service area is ridiculously huge. I mean, Coconino County is the second largest in the nation, and we also serve Mojave and Yavapai counties. And so we've always had the challenge of trying to serve folks remotely. You do add in poverty, you add in limited access to technology, and you've got challenges. And so we have, of course, like everyone, transitioned to be more remote. For a while, our offices were shut down. We're back open with the barriers in place and the masks when people are here, and all of that stuff, and limited number of people in the office. But we continue to provide housing counseling remotely, so via Zoom or on the telephone, and that has been better for folks, quite honestly, who don't have to come to our office to access services. And we were doing this before, but when you have that technology barrier and just that comfort level, and then people just kind of had to get over it. So I'll be honest, before the pandemic, Zoom, like I didn't know how to use that. And now we're not early adopters, we're just adopters. Like, it's just the way we do business now. And so 4 meetings today and all are on Zoom, great. I don't have to go to Phoenix to meet with the Department of Housing folks. I could just be on a Zoom call, or the Arizona Housing Coalition. Like, I mean, I haven't been spending hours in the car to get to places, which makes us a little bit more productive. Now, there's still challenges, and we still have people who don't have that access to technology, and they're still having issues, and we continue to try and address those. I'm excited that, cautiously optimistic, that Launchpad is going to convert to Compass, which is our client management system. Kill me now. I know Sherri and I are like in this, like, please let it be better. But one of the things that will do is give us the ability to have that online application portal, because right now, it's the hard paper copies that we're emailing to folks, and they fill it out and then we fill it in. And we've explored different ways, but if HUD's going to make us use a different system and this is going to convert, then we're just kind of holding our breath until it happens, with the hope that gives a different entry portal to folks who can access technology, which would streamline our process, which would be great. We've always offered, not always, but for the past 4 to 5 years, we've offered online homebuyer education, which has been helpful for folks, so they don't have to come to our office and get childcare and give up a weekend, or if they worked on weekends and couldn't get off, so they can take, the online education at their convenience in Spanish at home. That's been helpful. So I think there's some good things that have happened as a result of the pandemic. But we certainly can't forget those folks who are still challenged by geography, technology, and poverty.
Thank you so much. Definitely agree with all of you. And there were definitely so many positive things that came out of this, as well as some challenges that we're still facing internally. So we'll continue to work through those. But now we have, a baseline, right? We have, okay, we got this down, and now how can we improve even more to be able to help our clients and be able to serve them. And like Devonna, like you said, those that are challenged geography or by technology. So we will definitely continue trying to improve. Thank you for that. So we do have 2 questions for our panelists. One that we're going to actually roll into with the next question. So I will skip over that. And then the next one is asking, do any of you offer any assistance for emergency assistance for anybody that has been affected by disaster, the fires, or any other disaster?
Yuma, we do have emergency funding in the rental area. And then of course we partner with places like Red Cross, but anytime, I think with a lot of the communities, if there has been a disaster proclaimed, and it's come down through FEMA, there are funds made available in different areas. We have FEMA funding right now, and we have it in 2 different categories: the regular FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency funding, and then there's a CARES, which is the one that came with the pandemic that was proclaimed in March, and I believe we got ours in June. So I think anytime that there's a federal proclamation, then there is some funding, whether agencies, the agencies sitting on this panel are the ones that have it. We do, and I know Devonna and Henry can attest to this. Another reason why you need a counselor in your life or somebody from these types of agency is that we partner with our community. We're a voice in our community. We are a voice in the state. We try to keep in touch with what's going on in our community. So
absolutely. So we may not always have the answer, but we definitely have the resources. So feel free to reach out to any agency, and we will be able to give you those resources that are out there that we are aware of. So thank you, Sherri. Thank you for that. Does anybody else have any other emergency assistance that they're currently offering?
Well, currently rental assistance payments, excuse me, emergency rental assistance payments are the norm, I guess, in terms of supporting folks who are facing evictions from their homes, as well as utility support. So folks, again, that are not employed and can't continue to pay for their utilities, there are programs there. We at CPLC don't have, in our housing component, we don't have emergency funds like FEMA and those access. But as is stated, we know where to send folks if they have an individual need.
I would just say ditto.
Thank you. So we will move on to the next pressing question, which I know is a big one, and I know so many of you probably have the same doubt. And what are we doing through this challenging housing market, right? What are some current challenges that each one of you are having with your organization, and being able to assist clients or anybody looking out there to become a homeowner? We understand that many of you have different down payment assistance programs, but there's, the down payment doesn't do any good unless you can actually enter into a contract. So tell me a little bit about the challenges that you are having with helping first-time home buyers purchase a home in this crazy market.
Well, it's just as you said, it doesn't do you any good if you can't afford the property. And because the way the properties are appreciating rapidly, it's very difficult to encourage people to go through the process, because they just don't have the financial resources to be able to purchase because of the way the market has appreciated. And, but then again, that's another good reason for going to a counselor, because you can get that information. You can be armed with that information before you come in contact with maybe a loan officer. And I'm not speaking ill of anyone within our industry, but sometimes there are people who are a little unscrupulous, and so we'll put you through a process that you didn't need to go through because there wasn't a possibility for you being able to purchase in the first place. Or you get the opportunity of working with a counselor, working with us. We find in the beginning of the beginning of our relationship that maybe you can't, but with a little bit of time, let's work on your credit, let's work on your income. Let's try to find ways in which we can make it a little bit better for you to be able to, you're in a stronger position to be able to purchase. And that, therefore, and if it's no cost to you, then why not, work with someone that's trying to help you, to benefit you during that process. So that's, I think for me as a counselor and a person who oversees a counselor process, is to make sure that we give I think the term that one of my counselors used, financial strength, financial security, to assist people with financial security, so that they know over a period of time after working with us that we've got their best interest in heart, because we're trying to work with them to help them have financial security as well. So if the price of the housing is you're out of the market currently, then we want to make sure that you understand that and maybe come up with an action plan. We will definitely come up with an action plan for us to follow, for us, and meaning you and us, you and the person and the counselor, we're working together. We're in this together to help you to be able to benefit and for it to have some financial security as well. So you know, of course I'm going to be biased and I'm going to be prejudiced and suggest that everybody that's looking to purchase a home, or certainly anyone who is in a jeopardy of losing their home, should look towards the housing counselor to help them to, again, forewarn them, forearm them when they're going through that process.
Yeah, we're not seeing so much the housing market prices kind of going crazy like they did in 2009. What we have here in Yuma is we have a lot of cash buyers. So what happens with our clients that are definitely ready, we have a WISH program, which is a 3-to-1 match where they put 5 down, they get 15 grand. We have a little IDA that we have. So they have this money, but they're limited by the appraisal. And these cash buyers, which are companies and corporations that are coming in and they're, you know, $10,000, $12,000 over the appraisal. And unfortunately, our clients, even with down payment assistance, can't fight.
Mhm.
So like Henry's saying, warning them and having them understand that giving up their right to an inspection could very well mean that they're buying a home that they can't even live in because it has repairs that are beyond their financial means once they have that house payment in place. And letting them understand, which is so hard for somebody who's chomping at the bit to be a homeowner, that when the time is right, it'll happen. And I always said, and I did this in 2008 and 2009, you know, what goes up will eventually come down, and there's going to be a change in the market. And hopefully by that point in time, if we look 2 to 3 years out, we will have clients that are purchase ready, that are understandable in all of the acronyms and all of the words that they need to be. And hopefully we'll still have those down payment assistance available in the future. And I know, Devonna, I saw you shaking your head. I haven't, Flagstaff has always been kind of high mortgages. Do you guys seeing the same thing up there?
I mean, we're worse. It's just I don't know which is worse, us or Sedona. I mean, so 2 of my employees are trying to buy a house right now, and I get the Teams messages and the text at night that they were outbid again, that there were 20 offers, 6 of them cash buyers. Places are going $50,000 to $75,000 over list price in a week. It's a little nutty right now on Flagstaff, I will be honest. At the same time, however, we have spent all of our down payment assistance money that we get from the city of Flagstaff. So we've had people who have gotten under contract and we've been able to help them. And that's really rewarding. So is it easy? No. Is it feasible to some extent? Yes. I don't know. I just think perseverance. If now's your time to buy and you're okay with the prices as they are, and you're not going to wait for the correction or whatever we think the crystal ball is coming, then, you know, you got to know what you're getting into. And maybe you're not going to get the first house or the second house or the third house you put an offer in on. It might not be your dream house. It's your starter house. And so now might not be the time to buy for you. Like if you,
Right.
If you can't handle that craziness, or you think that the market is too high and we're gonna experience a crash soon, then maybe now's not the time to get into the market. I don't have the crystal ball. I don't tell people one way or the other. So it's tough. We're seeing it, like Doug has said, with rent as well in Flagstaff. It's not like rents are going down either. And so, you know, if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, what does that equate to in a mortgage? Rates are pretty low right now, which is still great. It's like the only silver lining when you're trying to compete. It's just a crazy time. And the funny thing is, you know, we made it through the 2006 and then the market correction and the foreclosure crisis. And so really any time is a crazy time. I mean, we've just gone through the swings so much. I know everyone on here, all this panelists have been like, yep, like that was crazy. Like, whew, we made it through. And now here we are in another crazy time. And so I don't know. If homeownership's right for you, then I would say keep working at it, and try not to get discouraged. And if you're just saying, I want to wait this out because I don't see the crystal ball ending well, you're probably not wrong either. Like, so it really has more to do with where you're at in your personal decision making and your finances. And, you know, are you ready to be a homeowner? Have you saved for down payment? Is your credit great? Are you going to stay around for several years, or are you looking to move out of Flagstaff in the next 2 years? Like,
Yeah.
so all of those situations go into your decision-making process, and we're here for the ride with you. But the ride is not the same for every household.
Couldn't have said it better. That was great.
Yes, thank you so much. We wish we had that crystal ball.
We'd all be rich.
Yeah, I've heard so many different perspectives, right, of what's going to happen. Some say there's prices are going to just stay. It may be that it slows down due to the fact that there'll be more inventory. So the rapid increase won't, continue to happen. But as far as prices going down, it's not going to happen. So I've heard a little bit of everything. So I just love what you said, Devonna, that it's when the time is right for you, right? So the prices can be completely, outrageous, but the interest rates are good, right? It could be that the prices drop, but then interest rates increase. So, when is the time right for you? And I think this will actually lead me into the next question to ask, when should somebody start working with a housing counselor? I get that question all the time. Do I wait till I'm prepared? Do I wait till the market is, corrects itself? When is the best time to reach out to a housing counselor? Sherri?
I would say if you have to ask yourself, it's a good time. I've been in the industry for so long. I started out with consumer credit counseling services, where we worked with people for 5 and 6 years to get them out of debt and onto their next financial goal, to coming in and being strictly a housing counselor, and you work with people for several years. I think the best time is if you are looking to change where you're at right now from a financial standpoint, whether it's just because you want to get on track financially, you want to have a better savings account, you're tired of always being from paycheck to paycheck, go see a counselor. I mean, we're housing counselors, but we're so much more than that. We're financial coaches. We have wraparound services. We're community advocates. We'll look at where you're at now. We'll look at your credit score. We'll look at your savings account. We'll look at your finances, and then we'll see what you want to do. If you have a goal, we'll help you to find ways to change and modify your behavior so that you can reach those goals if you choose to. So it can be anything from wanting to move out of your mom and dad's house as a high school person to, am I ready to buy my first home, or am I ready to sell and downsize? We can answer all those questions, and we can help anybody essentially through anything financial that comes around, I guess. So I would say anytime. It's the right time.
I would also say, please don't call us 2 days before closing needing some money to buy.
Correct. That's very correct. Yes. So don't say, my house is selling tomorrow. I heard you can help, because it's probably not going to happen, but we will help. We will help you transition out. We'll talk to you about the resources that are out there for you to hopefully get into a rental. But as Devonna was saying, and I'm sure it's the same in other places, Southern Arizona has a very short inventory of rental units. And so even though we have all these wonderful vouchers that are available, and there's more Section 8 vouchers available for our homeless, we don't have any rental units. So kudos to Devonna for being able to open some more for our low-income individuals in the Flagstaff area. We have, I think it's everywhere, but I agree.
I started selling real estate in 1980 because I was looking for a home, and the real estate agent was steering me, and I didn't quite understand what was going on. So I went to real estate school so that I could understand what the process was. So I think when you are making a serious commitment to yourself and to your family to try to purchase a home, or you again save your home, or whatever it might be, understand the rental process, that's the time to go out and try to find you the information you need, get educated to the process, get educated to what your expectations are of the person that's working with you. And there has to be a coexistence between you and the person that's working with you to assist you in purchasing a home. And again, that's something that we talk about. You want to have a relationship where you're trusting that person is trusting you, because quite often people who are looking don't share the real deal when it comes to them and their credit and their history and their employment and what have you. So that information has to come out in order to assist in the home buying process. And if you're not willing to share it with the person who's out there with you, i.e. the real estate agent, or if you withhold information from the lender, then they're not going to want to work with you because you've not given them a good enough product to work with. So I'd say that if you, and as Sherri said, if you're thinking about purchasing a home, if it's on your mind, then the first place you should go is a housing counselor. And housing counselors, I'm trying to think back on how long. I know that the housing counseling process or industry has been in existence about 35 years. So it's still fairly new, and it's not something that is always discussed in that process, because typically people think, I've got a loan officer and I've got a real estate agent. Why do I need anybody else to assist me in this process? Well, both of those folks have a vested interest in you working with them, because they're going to be paid by some kind of commission or some kind of way that you come to a nonprofit, non-charging entity to get information. That's pure. You're just getting information that you need in order to move forward. There's nothing attached to it, no profit attached to it. So why would you not want to go to somebody that is there strictly for your benefit, strictly for your information, and to support you? I think that any time that you're seriously engaged in wanting to purchase the property, or if you're in jeopardy of losing your home or in jeopardy of losing a rental, you need to reach out to a housing counselor so they can assist you.
Thank you. I think the biggest complaint I hear in the homebuyer education classes is, I wish I would have known about this sooner, right? When Devonna says, don't come to us 2 days before you're getting ready to close. Usually our clients are so upset because now they're empowered with all this amazing information. Now they know the entire process, but they really can't do anything with that information because they're closing in a few days. So I think that's great advice that you are all giving, is at the moment that you feel that you are wanting to purchase a home, at the moment that you feel that you're in jeopardy of losing your home, at the moment you want to, either you're having problems with your rental, or you want to actually enter into a rental agreement, and how to do that correctly. So there's so many services that you all provide that are available now and not at the time that you're in trouble. So thank you so much for all that you do and all of the different services that you provide. We have a question in the panel about loan estimate forms and predatory lending. Can we help? Can you talk a little bit about loan estimates and being able to help people with their true affordability? Wait, Henry?
So predatory lending practices was the downfall of the real estate industry back in 2008. Probably started a little sooner, maybe 2006, and carried on into 2008, 2009. And I would say, and maybe me when I'd agree or would agree, I would say that predatory lending practices did actually have a positive benefit in people coming to real estate, to housing counselors to get additional information, because that's where the direction was being sent. But people felt that they were the loan officers were predatory, the real estate agents were predatory. As I said earlier, these people were all vested in the process because they received some kind of compensation for it, whereas the housing counselors did not. And so predatory lending, and for those who don't quite understand what we mean by that, it means basically that if there is a process of purchasing a home, or a process of getting in a rental, the qualifying process is not correctly followed or legally challenged, because people couldn't afford the properties that they were being sold because either they didn't have the income to support it, they didn't have any down payment to support it, and the lenders would develop all types of different schemes to bring people into the buying process, even though they weren't able to. I think the biggest response would always be if there was breath on a mirror, then that meant that that person was able to qualify for a home, even though you're looking at, say you could afford a $160,000 home, and I'm just using numbers. You could afford a $160,000 home. Fine, that's great. Go for that. But now the person that's working with you, the lender that's working with you, say, you know, we could probably get you up to 180, maybe up to 200,000. Or maybe we can do some interest-only loans for you. Maybe we can do different types of loan products for you to get you a little bit more. And what's a person going to do? They're going to say, well, yeah, you know, I really did want 4 bedrooms and a pool and a spa and all that, but I couldn't get that with the 160. I could do it with 200,000, but they still couldn't afford it. And so, or as I said, interest-only loans, and loans were you're paying on your loan, but you're not paying on the principal. You're just paying on the interest of the loan. Again, another predatory lending process or way of doing business. So, you know, that was the downfall that we previously. Now, I would say this, and again, I'm not sure if you would agree. My panelists agree. I would say that what we are currently experiencing, again, is a situation where people are able to necessarily afford the loans, afford the homes that they're being put into, but they actually have money on the table. It's not predatory in the fact that you're working with somebody that doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the income, doesn't have the down payment to work it. There actually is money on the table in this particular market that we're dealing with. And so it is a different market, but it's still I still encourage and highly suggest and highly encourage people to talk to a housing counselor about that difference, about what they're going to need in order to close, what they're going to need in order to sustain that house over a period of time. It's not quite as predatory as it has been in the past, but it could very easily transfer into that in a very short period of time.
Thank you, Henry. Sherri, can you tell us a little bit about how your organization can help prevent people with, you know, having maybe predatory loans or being at risk of entering into a predatory loan?
Sure. I mean, part of being doing the pre-purchase counseling is to help people understand the new forms. So the new forms that are now required because of the Dodd-Frank. So we have the estimated closing documents, and we have the closing documents, and there's certain percentages that they're allowed to be off on certain areas. So we encourage our first-time home buyers, those that we're working with, we stay with them through the whole process. So when it comes down to their, you know, okay, I have so long to do what I don't understand, they can come to us and we can explain to them their estimated closing costs and what does that document mean and how does it relate to the closing docs and what does all of that mean. As far as predatory lending, everything Henry said is absolutely what it used to be. What we're finding now, and we have a few agencies here in Yuma that still do what I guess would be considered predatory because they're higher than the conventional mortgages. But if a homeowner goes to those and they're getting a second mortgage and it's above a certain amount, they do have to go to counseling. And so we provide that counseling and the certificate to show that they understand that they're getting into an interest rate that they may not otherwise need to get. And to help them understand that they may be better off looking at a different loan product, depending, you know, waiting and getting us, you know, we try to help them understand that there's a cost to higher interest rate. And then it's their choice if they still want to go with it. But the predatory lending that we saw, for the most part, we aren't seeing too much of that at all in Yuma any longer. But we do have what we call secondary market or C paper that's still out there, which is just people who have a little lower they have assets, so they have a house, and so they're looking to get alone for whatever reason. And at least here in Yuma, they do ask them to come to us. And so that's what we provide. And right now we're providing that free of charge. It is something that could be a fee for services down the line. But as counselors, we're using it mainly with our clients that are in our 8-hour, that are part of our one-to-one counseling after that, and coaching them through the home buying process. We do all of that. And that's kind of how we work it in our agency.
Great, thank you so much, Sherri. So what is the typical time that it takes somebody to go through the counseling programs that you have? How many sessions do they average? Is it different depending on the services that they're provided? Devonna, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd say it's really dependent on the client and what their goals are and where they're at in meeting those goals. So typically, foreclosure counseling is more intensive and time consuming, and immediately, like, there's a deadline, right? Like, you're behind on your mortgage and there might already be a trustee sale set or whatever it might be. So it's a lot more time on the part of the counselor and the client, but it's usually shorter in terms because there's a deadline looming. Pre-purchase counseling, is at least probably 6-ish hours, I would say, at the minimum. But that assumes, like, you come in and we're talking to you about your budgets and your unique financial position, as HUD likes to call it, and your what you can afford in a mortgage and what your debt looks like, but you're kind of ready to go, right? You don't have barriers to home ownership. You may have already talked to a lender and been pre-qualified, but you're checking things out. You want to better understand the process, and honestly, you're probably here because of the carrot of down payment assistance. So that could move relatively quickly. Some folks come to us very early on in the pre-purchase home buyer process. They don't have good credit. They might have high debt, and they have some work to do. And we might work with folks for 2 to 3 years to get them ready to buy a home. When you come to us with high debt and bad credit, like, there is no magic wand that is going to fix that, except if you inherited $1 million and paid off all your bad debt and didn't take out, built good credit for a few months, and then that's a magic wand. But normally you have high debt and bad credit because of you don't have $1 million sitting in the bank to solve those problems. And so then it really is, coming up with your action plan, working on what debts to pay off first. We're checking in with you, every month or two to see where you're at and meeting your goals. We're working on budgeting and financial literacy. We can run credit reports and get your tri-merge credit scores. But that's really more of a longer term relationship to get you ready to buy. So it varies depending on what I would say the needs and the goals and the situation is of the client.
Thank you, Devonna. Would everybody kind of agree with what Devonna is saying? It just kind of depends on what goals the client needs to meet and what service, right, that they're going to enter into, and how fast and aggressively they're going to work on that action plan that you're going to create for them. Because there could be 2 of your clients that could have the exact same situation. Someone, is more determined and works on their action plan more aggressively, and someone can kind of just like, oh, okay, I'll get to it. So the timeline really, really does depend on, again, the goals and how they're going to tackle those goals. So thank you. That's great.
And I would hope that we can make them understand that, telling me that you haven't found the documentation is not helping the process. You need to find the documentation and present what is necessary, has been requested from the counselor, because it doesn't do anyone any good, especially you, because you become frustrated because every time you go back to the counselor, they say, well, where is so-and-so? Well, I couldn't find, no, telling me you can't find it doesn't work, so you got to find it.
That's right.
I had a counselor say that they can't work harder than the client.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That really resonated. And of course, that was actually a domestic violence case manager who said that, but it's true across the board. Like, we can't buy the house for you. I can't save the house for you. I can't find you an affordable rental unless you're willing to kind of figure out how much effort you're willing to put into this. If you can't pay off your debts, I can't pay them off for you. If you can't find your your statement from Social Security to prove your income. I can help tell you how to get it, but I literally can't log into Social Security for you. Like, I had somebody who called, was like, well, they're not telling me how to, you can just get my DES unemployment report, right? And I was like, no, that, like, you wouldn't want me to be able to get that information. Like, why would you think I could do that? And you need to be able to get that. Well, I don't know the internet. I was like, well, I know the internet, but I don't know your password. Like, so it really is a team, right? And if the client's part of the team and the counselor's part of the team, then you can really have success. But if either of those teammates is not really engaged in the process, then you probably won't go anywhere very quickly.
Yes. Very great information. Okay, so let me, we are coming here to an end. We have a few minutes. So I think I would like to end with, so the term housing counselor, right? It sounds like your work is just limited to housing counseling, but we know that we all provide different services around financial capability programs and really improving your financial health. I always say to myself, I wish I knew now I wish I knew then what I knew now, right? So let's end with you each giving a statement on what do you wish that young people would learn in school or in college, right? To increase their financial literacy, to make them better, help them make better financial decisions and have a better financial future. Sherri, let's start with you.
Okay, so, and I don't even know that it's school, but I don't know that we can start with the home. But I think responsibility and financial responsibility go kind of hand in hand. So I think if it was said best by somebody that you can feed a person a fish or you can teach them to fish and have them be sustainable for life. So in my opinion, what we need to do is we need to teach our children how to be financially responsible, how to work for $1 and the importance of a day's work for $1's pay. And the rest of it, I think, will fall into place. But if they can learn the basics of finances, that they can understand that you don't just walk through life and pay for nothing, that rent costs, that it costs to heat the house, that it costs to cool the house, it costs to mow the lawn, you have to buy the gas. I mean, nothing in life, unfortunately, besides breathing, really is free. So I know that that's kind of simple, but I just wish they would teach them those things. They teach them math, they just don't put it into real life situations. And thank you for allowing me to participate today. I appreciate you managing us, Brenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sherri. Henry, what do you?
I'm old enough to remember in college campuses where you would walk on as a freshman and you have Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, all these lenders, Capital One with applications for credit, and they were just passing them out like they were candy to the undergrad and some of the other students there. And unfortunately, they made these students believe that they actually were worth $1,500 or $2,000, that they actually did have the ability to do that. And that was then. Now it's trying to get the young people to understand that if you buy something and you buy it on credit, be prepared to pay it off when you get the statement. Don't keep extending it and extending and extending it. Be prepared to be able to make that payment as soon as the statement comes in. That's something that we try to encourage them to understand. They're not worth, and I don't mean worth in terms of that, their income is not at $1,500. If they're a student, they're trying to pay rent and they're under $500 under trying to make their rent payment. So don't obligate yourself to something that you don't have the ability to be able to pay. And if that's something that they have seen at home and they've learned that at home, then that is where you want to focus that energy on what they learn at home. If it's something that they learned, out there, as I said, at ASU about where their value is in terms of the ability to pay, then address that. But I think that we excuse me, we do have financial security classes that we conduct at the high school level and at the community college level. And so we are talking to the students out there about what it means to develop, have good credit, what it means to have a positive checking account. Why would you want to pay a $35 service fee for a withdrawal of $5? So now that $5 package, which now just costs you $40 and a negative hit on your credit. So you want to make sure that we teach these things to young people along the way. And I think a housing counselor is a good place where you're going to get that kind of emphasis and that kind of education. And it shows that we do much more than just housing counseling.
Great.
So
thank you, Henry. Great advice.
Man, thank you very much for your work today, Brenda. Appreciate it, and for the coalition for putting this on together.
Thank you. Devonna, do you have a closing comment you would like to make?
I would just say, and I keep even trying to teach myself and my kids this, is the difference between needs and wants. And it's very basically comes down to that, and that it's important to save what we can for tomorrow, because we don't know what's happening. So if those two philosophies were more internalized, I think we might be in I know I'd be in a better financial situation, because, you know, we all try to do our best. But that would be what I would kind of get from that. So the other thing is, you know, I do like to echo what Sherri said. Thanks, Brenda, for hosting us and keeping us on track, and to the Housing Coalition for the opportunity to chat about the importance of housing counseling. I think each of those words is slightly problematic, because we do more than housing, and we definitely aren't counseling like certified on the couch counselors. We're more coaches, but it's hard to share our story and have the community in general know what we do. So thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely, and thank you all for your time and for being coming together today and just to share about what housing counselors do and the benefits of working with housing counseling agencies. You obviously do so much more work that we don't have time to talk about. We're a little over here our hour, and we can continue talking about all of our services. But I just want to let everybody know that's in the audience to reach out to any organization, any housing counseling organization. If you want to, you know, be sure that it's a certified housing counseling organization, you can go on the HUD website, hud.gov, and find an organization that's in your area. All of these organizations collaborate, like you've heard us today. You've heard our great panelists, you know, share and common information, and they, you know, all provide different types of classes around home ownership, foreclosure, intervention services, as well as financial coaching, financial capability services. And if you call an agency that does not offer the service that you're looking for, we will be able to refer you to somebody that does and is able to help you. So please feel free to reach out to any organization, and those organizations will be able to help you find the help that you need. Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope that you all learned something today and learned about the wonderful and amazing work that housing counselors do. Thank you.
Thank you.